Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Hockey Life podcast. Today we are joined by a dear friend of the store, Marco Tomasello. He has played for the Sydney Bears coming up in Pee-wees and Bantams, then switching to goaltending. Second year of Bantams, he's played in the AJIHL, the ECSL and the AIHL, and is also a IIHF accredited linesman and just officiated at the Division 4 World Championships in Kuwait this year. Marco, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for taking some time.
Thank you. What an introduction.
You don't realize how much you've done in the sport until it's all laid out like that for you.
Yeah. When you've been around a while, it's strange to hear it all said back to you.
I would also like to add that Marco completely had my number when I was playing, and pucks just tended to end up in his glove, and I somehow was able to see through the cage, just this beaming smile, and it just made it all the more painful. So that's what I remember anyway, is that Marco with the yellow pads as well.
Yeah.
We can bring him out to inline.
Yeah.
Inline goalie.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah,
We'd be into it.
We'll talk about it later.
So Marco, let's go all the way back, like what we do.
Sure.
How did hockey start for you? Like, how did it happen?
So hockey for me, a very unconventional story, I think. I spent a lot of time, I've been fortunate to live in a few different places in the world, and my youth was spent in Indonesia, and we had satellite TV. And so one day I was just sitting down watching the TV, and ice hockey came on. Didn't know what it was, thought it looked really like a really cool sport. And went to my mum. I was like, "Hey, mum, what's the sport?" She said, "Oh, it's ice hockey. Don't worry. They only played in North America. Kind of forget about it." Sort of. So yeah, like just kind of pushed it out of my mind. But it was
that looks expensive. But don't worry about it.
Yeah. And so it was always kind of sitting in the back, but never really did anything about it. Then we returned to Australia. I started high school, and I went to high school with Joel McFadden.
Really?
Yeah, we went to the same high school, and we weren't in the same friendship group initially, but came, I think, year 8. We ended up in the same friendship group, and we were just talking one day, and I mentioned that I liked ice hockey, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I play. Do you want to know how to get into it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure," and went from there. Macquarie D League, and kicked off from there.
Well,
That is epic. So went to D League, and then how long do you think that you spent in D League before you took on the Bears jersey?
Not very long at all. Not to say that I became a really good player very quick.
Yeah.
But the year that I started D League, the Pee-wee comp in New South Wales, they had a double A and a single A, and Sydney Bears were trying to put together a team for the single A league. So I went and joined the Sydney Bears. And that league was Sydney Bears, Central Coast Cyclones, they were called at the time, and Liverpool. I think the A-League was created just because Liverpool and Central Coast were brand new teams. And got into it from there. So I mean, Macquarie was the Bears kind of area, so I happened to be picked up or asked to join that team.
So when you first started, did you go right into like a try hockey program, or did you start skating? Like, how did that?
I think it was a try hockey kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember starting off with sticks and a helmet, of course.
Yeah.
Nothing much else.
Yeah. And then that was it. You were hooked from
Yeah.
then
I mean, I as I said, I'd seen it on TV, thought it was really cool, and then when I got out there and started playing, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And what was that conversation? Be like, "Hey, mom,
That
remember that sport that you said that only played in North America?"
Yeah, this
Apparently
could,
they
this
have
could
it
be
here,
one
so-
for the next generation
Yeah,
coming
like-
through. Like, we might have some tips here
Yeah.
on
How
how to
how
phrase
much
it.
money do you want to spend on me, man?
Yeah.
So that I actually remember that conversation. I'd been doing swimming for ages, and I kind of without I didn't particularly want to go competitive for swimming, and so I just kind of became really stale with it. So
Yeah.
I dropped swimming the year before, and
It's a hard training regime as well for swimming.
if you want to be competitive,
Yeah.
like when I
You
got
gotta
to
really want it.
correct, I got to the end of the program, and my coach was like, "Yo, you can keep doing this and never go anywhere, or you can take this seriously. Come 3 mornings and 2 afternoons a week." And I heard 3 mornings. I was like,
No.
yeah.
No.
So I dropped swimming, and I'd been pressuring mum to let me play another sport. And what I'd really been pushing for was to play rugby league.
Yeah,
And
right.
mum was just like, no
Absolutely
chance.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no chance. And so when ice hockey came around, I remember the conversation. I said to mum, I said, I want to play a sport. It's either going to be ice hockey or rugby league.
Wow.
And she said, you'll play rugby league over my dead body.
There you go.
And so I was like, ice hockey it is.
Yeah, you knew how that conversation was gonna go. Yeah, you like led her
So-
down the path.
Yeah, that's
like
the
Where-
early lawyer tactics coming in.
Little does she
This
know.
is a good point. This is a good point. So for any kids who are really, maybe even switching from, a different sport and they really want to get it across the line with the parents, maybe it is putting hockey next to another sport like equestrian or something like just
Go-karting, something
go-karting.
crazy.
Oh yeah, I want to be an
Expensive.
F1 driver, and it's gonna take
Or
millions of dollars.
ice hockey.
Or ice hockey, a few $100.
Yeah, not that bad.
Yeah. I guess I'll play ice hockey, and you just like pretend like you're upset.
Pretend you're upset, yeah.
Like, yippee.
All right. So Marco, first set of gear. How did you come around to getting your first set of hockey gear? Do you remember it? Like mine was bought out of the boot in a Blacktown car park. How did you get along to your first gear?
So I actually started training with the Bears without any gear, just borrowing the gear out of the gear closet at SIA.
Yep.
And one day,
R.I.P.
sorry,
R.I.P.
yeah,
Great rink.
it was such an awesome rink. Anyway, one day I came home from training with like a rash all over my body, and so mum was like, "All right, we need to buy you some of your own gear."
Yeah.
And pro shop at the SIA ice rink with Carl de Pisa, and got me fitted out, and went from there. I don't recall the specific brands, but
Starting off with a wood stick. Was it wood, you reckon, or did you go
No,
straight into
it was-
What
composite?
year would have this been?
that would have been 2005.
Okay, so
Yep.
2005, it was starting to get a little bit
That was still
more
transitional. I think I've maybe got
Two-piece.
2006. Yeah, maybe two-piece, do you reckon?
old
Um,
symbol.
Actually, I think the first stick I had was actually all wood, but then I broke that stick
What a
quite.
Oh,
No, I
it's
don't.
on
I
some
don't.
kid's head.
I don't think it was.
Always been a dirty player,
I don't
Marco.
recall how it broke.
Yeah, but
Smashed into pieces.
something silly, no doubt. And then my second one, I remember it was a gold. It was a gold composite shaft with a wooden blade,
Yeah.
and it was a Sherwood shaft and a Nike blade.
Yeah,
Sick.
nice.
Yeah.
I used to love those blades with the big Nike tick on them.
With the-
as
with the
well.
big tick, yeah, exactly.
so
Bring
sick.
Nike back to hockey.
Oh, I tell you, that would be great. Could happen.
They got the Instagram.
Could
page.
happen.
Yeah, they're pushing hard.
So, Pee-wees, what position were you playing when you started out, Marco?
We rotated positions, so I even actually got to rotate in that year into goalie as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that was where the maybe
Planted the
idea of
seed?
playing goal was planted?
I think so, because I seem to recall I did it more than most on the team.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
the first one to put your hand up. Like, yeah, can I?
Yeah, I'll do it. The
yeah.
gear looks cool, right?
Yeah,
That's crazy that you had a good experience. The one time went all the way to Canberra and I don't know, our goalie got injured or just couldn't make it. I had to suit up and it was demoralizing.
You did an
I
actual
thought
game.
I did a full game as goalie. First slap shot. It scared me. I jumped over the puck. And then it was bad, man.
But I would have been looking across the red line, looking at you during warm up, like, point night, let's go. Just start clapping it.
There
up.
was some points.
They,
It
they
was-
knew. They
yeah.
knew. They saw
I
you
think they
shaking
stopped
onto
the clock.
ice,
But yeah, so I knew at that point that
They had the
goaltending
mercy
was
rule introduced
not
that year.
within. Yeah, I'm because of it. I am the reason.
The Slanta rule.
So you had it obviously you had fun and it was semi good game and you stopped some shots and thought
Yeah.
I could do this.
Well, I think you're right. It planted the seed at the time. It was. I wasn't thinking of switching at the time. I was still kind of just having fun playing ice hockey. No real thought to the position. And as I said, because we all rotated
Yeah.
a fair bit. But yeah, that first year just rotated through all the positions. Got to try everything.
that is awesome.
That's a good idea for coaches to do that. I think they still do that in the younger kids.
They didn't do that with me. They
No,
just
not
said,
now-
you
not
stay
now.
back there.
Well, yeah, well, you spent all that-
on
you
that
stay in the
side
corner, yeah,
at the
yeah.
blue line. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's
Don't
it,
go
yeah.
across halfway.
Yeah, if
Just
puck
stay.
comes near you, just try and give it to someone with the same jersey. Just try.
Just yeah. bang it up the boards. That's it. I remember.
Dump and
I'm
chase
not doing
just
it.
without the chase.
Yeah, just ice it. Get rid of it.
And so, okay, so then you move into first year Bantams,
Yep.
and then did you have a solidified position then? Like, were you D or forward? or-
I was a winger in Bantams, so
Speed, baby. You got that speed.
Well, speed baby without the speed,
Yeah.
baby.
Cut to Marco racing to the puck for an icing in the AIHL.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got
we
some.
can get
You got
that
some
footage.
speed on you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got some speed.
I make it look like I know what I'm doing.
Left wing, right wing? What was your
Left
preference?
because I was was it left? I was a lefty with my stick, so
Yep.
whatever
Lefty.
the appropriate. Yeah.
Nice.
Carl handed me a stick and I took with my left hand, and he's like, "Okay, lefty."
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah. People always said to me,
It's a great
"Oh, you
debate.
know, you should play right because you're left-handed and you can like shoot down the center lane."
Mhm.
But I always just thought like I can only really receive passes on my forehand,
Yeah.
so I'm going to stay on the left side. That's good for me. That'll be enough. So you play that season of Bantams,
Yep.
and then in the off season, like what happened for you to think, okay, I'm going to transition to goaltending?
So that season, I got injured twice, quite severely. So one time, I was trying to, it was bantam, so body contact or body checking. I was trying to check one of the guys from Liverpool. He was huge, and I just bounced off him, and
Yeah.
apparently my head hit the ice first,
Yeah.
and that was like out. The next thing I remember is it was actually Kent Unwin, who was the referee in that game, standing over me, going, "I think he's knocked out." So that wasn't pleasant.
Now colleagues.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Lots of memories with Kent through the year. And then I think we had 4 or 5 games left in the season, and it was at Penrith, and puck was up the boards. I missed it on my initial skate through, and I twisted back to try and get it just as a guy checked me,
Yep.
and hyperextended my knee
Oh.
out to the side. Like you usually hyperextend your knee back, and mine just went that way.
Ow.
No.
So that was season ending, and after that, I kind of decided, well, I never got injured when I was being a goalie, so I think I'll switch to that.
Sweet. Okay, segue to the next difficult conversation with the parents.
Yeah.
Like-
Oh yeah.
By the way-
Post injury as well. Like
Yeah.
she was like, I don't want you to play rugby because you're gonna get injured. Next minute, your
"Here's-"
foot is pointing the other way, and you think you're contemplating playing
Contemplating, yeah, switching to the most expensive position. In
Yeah.
and the position where your foot is always pointing that way.
Yeah.
goal. I know I can bend it like that because
Yeah, I've got this newfound ability.
yeah, your
Amazing.
mobility would have been unreal.
So you had that conversation, got across the line, and then what was the first set of goal pads? Like, where did you find those?
So that was Hockey Monkey, which was an absolute mission. Never ordered from Hockey Monkey.
It is a
again
mission,
after
isn't it? It's very
that.
difficult. It's impossible nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Yep.
at that point when like people were starting to shop online, and like that was probably one of the few places you felt like you could trust getting gear. It was either
Yeah.
that or like eBay, which was probably at that point still the Wild West in
Yep.
terms of like what you were going to get.
Yep.
Yeah, what was actually going to come in the post.
Yeah, and
And
you're
what-
like, if I order one T-shirt, it's going to be double the price of the T-shirt is going to be added as shipping.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just even something very small. Because I did that once and then never again as well. And I think it was probably around that same period as well, like that. You know, late
That's sort of, yeah, 2006, yeah.
And
yeah.
what was the set marker? What was the colors? What
So-
did we?
That's where the yellow started. So
Yeah.
right from the beginning, not by choice. So I'd ordered a set of I think they were Reebok 5Ks, if I
Yeah.
recall, the original, like the first, with the sort of X graphic that they
Yeah.
had on them, and I'd ordered them. Roberto Luongo was still playing for Florida, so I'd ordered them in Florida colors, which was the white, the yellow, and the blue,
Yep.
because I was switching to the Saints, and I thought match the color of their
Yeah.
uniform at the time well. We didn't hear from Hockey Monkey for like a month and a half,
Uh-oh.
and then Mum was like, "What's going on?" So she
Yeah.
gives them a call. They're like, "Oh yeah, we had a huge system crash. All the orders have been lost. We can see that you've paid, but we don't have that product in stock anymore." So they said, "We'll give you an upgrade to the next model up." So it was there were Premier 2s at the time. So
Yep.
it was the Premier 2s. They said, "We don't have that color scheme. Which one do you want?" And the all yellow flurry pads looked the closest to the Florida scheme. So I went, those ones. And yeah, that's how it
Sick.
went.
There we go.
Awesome.
Those were unreal. I just thought that you were a big Marc-Andre Fleury fan, so that's why you got the yellow pads.
No, didn't know who he was to start. You know, favorite goalie growing up was definitely Shagir from the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't even realize when I'd ordered them and for quite a few years that there was anyone in the NHL that ran that color scheme. So
Why does everyone keep calling me Flower? I don't get it. Like, it's so weird. Like,
And wood stick to start off with.
yeah, Reebok wouldn't stick. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. God, it's amazing how far they've come now. Like
It
when you
is.
pick up a goal stick, like when you think about like when you
dude,
pick
how
up a wood
pumped
stick,
how
like
pumped would you have been to like when you finally got that box and you got to like break it open?
It was like
It
Christmas.
was like after waiting a month and now you're getting even better pads and they're going to be different.
and that
first session,
excitement,
like, is so sick.
you essentially get that excitement because one thing I remember about starting hockey so much is like you dream about it, you wake up thinking about it, you're so invested, like your whole life is like you're just thinking about hockey the whole time. And you would have had that twice. You started it as a player and then you get it again as like a goalie. Like that's sick.
It was like I said, like Christmas opening it up. If I recall correctly, the first night that I had it, I actually took all the gear up to my room and like put it beside my bed. I'm like, I'm not leaving it.
Yeah.
So
Over my
good.
dead body.
Yeah.
Just get
That
one
is
eye
epic.
open.
Yeah, didn't actually sleep, just like
Yeah,
kept stroking the pads.
like a pet. Like you just made sure it was still there. Like just it's okay. Don't worry.
And then
Tomorrow morning we'll.
did you
we'll
have
try.
like a goalie mentor at that point? Like, I mean, going into that, first season as full on goalie, like, was there someone like showing you the way or helping out, or is it just like the coach just telling you?
Yeah, just the coach. There was no goalie mentorship or goalie coaching or anything available at Liverpool. I remember the coach got one of the senior goalies to come down one evening at training and kind of give me some pointers, but that was just one evening and yeah, just listening to the coach, things that the coach said were good to do. So the style was very probably 1980s or something, I don't know. So just started
Just watching stuff online and
not even honestly, just listening to what the coach said and just trying to get in front of pucks. There was no style, no
methodology behind it. It was just pure athleticism. Just stop that thing from
exactly
getting
as any way I can. Yeah.
I mean, you're
That
a
explains a
swimmer
lot.
as well, so strong. And then,
Yeah.
like, did stretching come into it as well, like to get the butterfly like exactly where you needed it, or like how does that progression work?
Were you doing any training off the ice to help you on the ice?
Not in those early years. So off ice training for me really didn't start until I was probably 17 or 18.
Yeah.
In those early years, there was no sort of off ice or anything like that. I was still just very much taking it recreationally,
That
like
discovery period type thing. Yeah.
have fun with it.
Yeah.
I've always been a little bit, particularly in my hips, I've always been more flexible than most, but certainly the flexibility that I had once I was, East Coast AIHL was because of stretching and everything.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that because you wanted to play that higher level? You didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
Once you got to that midget age, you're starting to look at your options and go, okay, like if I want to actually take that next step, I'm gonna have to take it a little bit more serious.
Exactly right. And what the catalyst was being invited to under 18s Australia tryouts.
Nice.
Looking back on it, it was probably just to make up numbers. I don't think I was anywhere near, the skill of the goalies that actually got selected.
Yeah.
But that, showing up to that tryout, getting that experience, like where they were actually doing some off ice testing, like testing our jump height, testing our fitness and all the rest of that. That, I don't know, just is really a cool experience. And I thought, hey, I want to actually get involved in this more. And so that's when off ice came in.
Gotcha. Because you now have that comparison. You have that measuring stick there in all those categories. Because I remember back then they would give you a couple of sheets. With
Exactly.
Like what percentile you were of each testing, and they gave you little notes and stuff like that as well. That's interesting because as a kid you sort of have that little competitiveness in you that sort of got sparked again.
Yeah.
And then you try and go, you know what? I'm not that far off that guy.
I think I could take him.
Yeah, exactly. And he's lazy as hell.
and that was the thing, right? Like talking to people, particularly when I got started with doing off ice work and everything. A lot of people were like, if you put in the work off the ice, it's going to put you in front of the people that don't put in the effort off the ice.
100%.
And then was there, like, when you were developing as a goaltender, was there some things that like just really came natural? Like, was your glove just like the best part, or was it like blocking shots with your blocker, or was it the butterfly? Like, what did
Good
you kind of like
reflexes.
rely on, like, to really get you through that first like initial period, or did it all kind of just organically come together the more that you played?
I think I had, like Brian said, good reflexes to begin with, and probably decent athleticism, and it was just trying to stitch that all together into a like making you a rounded goalie, right? One thing I've always struggled with, and I mean I've improved on it over the years, but is my positioning because I'm so small. If I'm just a little bit off, this huge
It's a little bit
gaping
more
net for
obvious,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. So positioning is not something that came natural. It's something that I definitely had to work on. And I think a lot of the elements of goaltending were things that I had to work on. Nothing particularly felt like it came naturally,
Yep.
but I had that foundation for with the athleticism, and I had that foundation with the reflexes. So was able to build the position on top of that.
And I mean, when I think about goaltending as like a position, I feel like there's these different parts to it, and they're so different. Like your gloving or your blocking, and you're using your stick. It's like it's not, like you're skating and you've got the puck, and it's kind of all together. It's like different disciplines for different shot scenarios. Like it's so kind of seems so complex.
Yeah.
Definitely the
And
hardest position.
mentally as well, just like being able to process all the information that's in front of you.
Yeah.
And doing like split-second calculations as to, okay, who's the threat, who's ready to shoot, who's backdoor option there. Like, you got to be able to keep all that in mind while the game is going in front of you. It's very, very demanding.
It is, and a lot of what you're talking about didn't actually come into my game until much later, when I was kind of stepping up into the East Coast, and then subsequently into the AIHL level.
Yeah.
Particularly, I remember one important skill that I picked up from Dave Wardle. I think he was playing. He played Bears for a while, and then he played for Sting in the East Coast. Was just to scan the blue line as the players came across. So you're focused on the puck player who comes in, but then scan the blue line to see
Yeah.
who else is following
Yeah.
him, so that you know what the options are.
Yeah.
But that didn't come until ages later in my game.
Right. And like transitioning from that, like U18 to East Coast level, that was straight away, like straight after you were done with midget, or did you have a bit of a break and then get into it?
So I took 2009 off for my HSC, but I was still in midgets at that year, and then the subsequent year I was still in midgets because I finished school when I was 17, just because I'm born so early in the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I was the same.
And then for the first couple of years out of midgets, I was taken on as a backup for East Coast when East Coast didn't really have backups.
Yeah.
So it basically meant that I showed up to the occasional training that
Yeah.
they had, and if the starting goalie was unable to make the game,
Yeah.
I showed up and took over.
Yeah.
But that was it. So I don't know if it's fair to say that the transition was straight away. It certainly wasn't an instantaneous
A straight
transition
line,
into
yeah.
yeah.
And did you do any other sports growing up that might have, like, if you took hockey off, you might have been playing something else? Did you ever have anything other than swimming when you first started before that, as sort of like a tandem that you do during the summer, or do you just like just hockey?
In high school, I played cricket for my school, and so that was super convenient. You had hockey in the winter and then
Yeah.
cricket over the summer.
Yeah.
But after high school, no, that was it. It was just hockey.
What do you prefer in cricket? Are you like you
I wasn't very good at it, but I really liked being the wicket keeper.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
mean, a lot of crossover.
Shocker.
I'm gonna say yeah.
Shocker. Yeah,
The
I
position
like
with
that
all
one
the
up. I'm
pads.
like, yeah.
I want all the pads.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that's part of the attraction
He
too. all
busts
the
out the
extra
gold
gear.
yellow pads. And it's
Yeah.
like,
That would be awesome.
I don't think they're legal, but like, what do you mean? Your glove is massive.
But the other one doesn't have any webbing, you know?
yeah. What's with the stick?
Now I've got a question, Marco, because like when I look at, when I played, I can see these kind of definite time periods where I got to a level and then thought I had it all wrapped up, and then there was a situation where I was like, I completely am not I'm not even swimming in this league now. And then I had to like do something different. I had to train more. I had to start rollerblading all the time just to keep up, and then got better. And it was kind of this progression of like
Trying
flat
to
line and then go better. It was never just like a straight progression. Like I really had to think about it and kind of be committed to improving and getting better. One of those was I went to like a national development camp for, I think it was Bantams, and I was there and, I was having the best time, thought I had it all made up. I was one of the team captains. And then after the analytics of it all, the thing that they diagnosed was that I just could not pass the puck. Like I'd never learnt to like cradle the puck and like push it. Like I would just hit the puck, I'd just smack it. So I couldn't put it between three cones that they'd set up. And then that was one for me where it was like, okay, I have to relearn everything and I need to work a lot harder and then keep going. So was there moments in your progression as a goaltender where it was like you'd get to a point and then you'd have to think, okay, I need to get better at that and then work on that and then go up kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. So I had that experience every time I went up an age bracket or I went up a level.
Yeah.
So, I finished off midgets, and my last year of midgets, I thought, hey, like I feel like I've got a grip on what I need to do as a goalie. And then you step up into East Coast, and then you're like, oh no, I have. Yeah, I've got.
Holy hell.
Yeah, exactly. I've got no idea what I'm doing, right? So
Get me out of this crease.
that experience happened every time I transitioned a level, whether it was age or whether it was in terms of skill. The way that I approached it on each occasion was different. Certainly, once I got out of midgets, in midgets, I'd been kind of very keen to go to those camps. Like, they have a 7 a.m. camp at Canterbury, and we need some goalies to be shot on, or hey, we've got a goalie coach that's coming out, come down and get some goalie coaching. So that was kind of how I dealt with it in midgets, trying to get out to a lot of camps. Then when I finished midgets, stepping into the sort of East Coast level, I decided that's probably not enough. So I tried to organize regular goalie coaching sessions with uh, whoever was available. Sarah Doramachi, Gabe
out.
Robledo, they were probably the two really early influences trying to
Shout out to them.
yeah,
People.
great people and awesome experiences. And my first touching with goaltending, like goalie coaching properly was really good because of both of them. So that was kind of how I dealt with it at that stage, and then stepping into AIHL. Probably the thing that I actually changed the most was nutrition.
Really?
Yeah, so coming into 2014 was my first year in AIHL. I'd just done a stint of exchange to a like a university exchange in a Middle Eastern country, and coming back, I somehow picked up pneumonia. So I came into the season. I'd recovered from pneumonia when I came to Ice Dogs tryouts, but I was 10 kilos underweight.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't have 10 kilos to lose, and I was 10 kilos underweight, and I just couldn't put it. I couldn't put it back on, no matter what I was doing. Like I was working heavy weights in the gym because I had my off-ice routine down pat by then.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was heavy weights in the gym. I was really trying to eat more, and I just couldn't put the weight back on. So I went and saw a dietitian, and she was like, "Hey, like you need to eat way more, and you need to eat these things more." And so I feel like that was the big change for AIHL, which allowed me to. You've tied up that area. You've got the energy, and it allowed me to put more energy into training and off ice and all the rest.
That is awesome. And what were they like? What were you set up? Like, how did your diet kind of change? Like, what were you eating heaps more of? Like,
So the big change was actually eating more frequently. So I was very much have breakfast,
Yep.
have lunch, have dinner. And when I went into the dietitian, and she was like, "Okay, well, that's fine for most people, but you're an athlete. Set out to me what your training regimes are like." And so I'm like, I was a swimming coach at the time, to just to help me get through university and help pay for this incredibly expensive sport.
Yep.
So like in the morning doing the swimming coaching, in the afternoon going to the gym, in the evening going to hockey training.
Yep.
And she was like, "Yeah, you're not eating frequently enough. There's no way 3 meals a day is going to give you all your energy." So it was more frequent meals, sometimes smaller,
Mm.
and stuff like, having tuna, which is low fat, high protein, increasing the vegetable intake as well. Stuff like that. I mean, I could go through my whole eating routine, but
Yeah.
And it worked. You were able to put that weight on
yeah,
that season, and yeah.
I got back up to weight probably about halfway through the season. Yeah.
And your energy must have gone up as well.
Yeah,
Like,
that was the big change that I noticed. So much more energy for me to put into all those activities.
yeah.
That is awesome. I thought we were going to get a different answer there when you said, I came back from Middle Eastern exchange and, had to, see the dietitian. I was thinking, whoa, Marco, you packed it on.
Now you gotta shave it off. Yeah.
Got to roll them out on the table. Just
And so that's awesome. So it's the progression and kind of each year and each level that you stepped up, you kind of see something more. Because I guess as a goaltender, like as a player, we're looking around and we can see certain things, but you really seeing it and feeling it from like that next level of
Yeah.
competition, like with their shot speed and also where they're putting it. Because that's
I think it as well, like you realize that you had to work on the athlete, not just the player.
Yeah.
But you were doing both at the same time because obviously you were playing catch up, starting so much later than probably the other goalies that you were competing against. You had to sort of elevate every aspect, not just you, the physical athlete that's going to be performing out there, but getting that specialized training, that focus, that one-on-one time with someone being able to sort of download the energy that they've got in their head into you, and you bringing all that sort of stuff together so that you can actually perform better on the ice. Because like what Sean mentioned, there's so much stuff that you can work on. Like if you just focus on just one thing, you'll improve a little bit, but if you have all the holistic side of it, then you'll be able to perform so much better.
Completely agree. And stepping into AIHL that season, I think really helped focus all of that. So, before that, it was kind of like wherever I can get the help, however I can get the help.
Yeah.
It's kind of grabbing at any resource, and still to an extent, particularly with hockey in Australia, you're grabbing at any resource you can get your hands on. But
Yeah.
once I was kind of stepping into that level, it was kind of it was focusing everything. It's like, okay, well, you've got the base here, let's refine it. You've got the base here, let's refine that.
Yeah.
And just pushing as much as I could.
Yeah.
So I've got a question, Marco, and it's around like, as a goaltender, are you watching the NHL and like focusing on the goalies and like, picking up different things? Was watching hockey ever like a big part of kind of like your kind of learning within the goaltender space?
Unfortunately, no. I think it probably would have helped a lot. We didn't have Here in Australia, we didn't have pay TV. I didn't sign up to any, the NHL apps or anything like that. So the only time I really got to see goaltenders from the NHL was in the highlight reels, and they're always those ridiculous, sprawling across the crease, pulling the puck out of the air kind of thing. But it was Pierre Martin actually suggested to me. He said, "Hey, you should watch some goalies and pull some stuff from their styles." And he said, "But pick someone who's your kind of style. There's no point picking, like Jonas Gustafsson, who's some 6'6" monster who's not going to play even remotely close to how you need to play." So he actually suggested that I follow a college athlete called Sean Hunwick, really small, like 5'8" goalie.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get videos of him and model a style around what he played.
Advice, Marco, for say even parents or players that are kind of stepping into that goaltending position and like wanting to learn and wanting to kind of like maximize their potential, like within Australia, say that they're just in Australia, what are some things that they should be looking at if they're, with a team, they've got the gear, but the next steps of like, improving, getting better?
So definitely, I think seeing if you can find someone who's willing to give you regular goalie coaching. As I said, when I started, Sarah Doramachi, Gabriel Leto, early influences. But then, talking about sort of refining and focusing everything, I settled. I shouldn't say I settled. He was actually an awesome goalie coach. I ended up really working well with Colin Downey, and Colin Downey actually had a super unique setup. He had like synthetic ice like this.
Yeah, he had synthetic ice before, like it's like common now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sick setup he had. Shout out to Colin. Great
Yeah.
guy. Love that guy.
Colin, yeah, awesome. In his garage every Saturday morning. Even in the summer when it's tin roof and the heat was just
Yeah.
unbelievable. But yeah, so find someone that you work well with and kind of focus on working with them as a goalie coach if you can. It's not an option for everyone. Certainly, getting out and getting the most ice time you can get as well. If there's an opportunity for you to, if you're in Bantams and there's the midgets don't have their goalie tonight, try and see if you can get in there, trying to, maximize your ice time going to those camps, as I said. But if all of that's not an option, one thing you can actually do that I found really helped my goaltending is after the session's over, when players are just randomly shooting a puck, or they're pulling down the nets or whatever, before the Zamboni comes out on the ice, just do some skating drills in your crease. And that helped immensely. You're at the end of the training session, so you're tired, so it's going to work your fitness. As long as as long as you're hitting your marks, you can even mark it out with a puck, like put a puck where you want to be, and skating to that. It just really helps refine your skating. And at least for me, skating was a big part of my style. I was too small to rely on my size, so I had to keep my feet a lot and get to the next point as quickly as I could. So find an element of your particular goaltending style that is very fundamental to what you do, and just try and hammer it at the end of practice.
Yep. Yeah, that is awesome. And what is like your pre-game ritual? Like, are you juggling balls off the wall and like stretching, or like how do you kind of like gearing up for a game?
Death
What's
metal
your...
in the headphones.
Yeah. What is it? Yeah.
So
Mom spaghetti in the corner, just 1,000 yard stare.
well, the Eminem was certainly in my playlist when I was playing.
Oh yeah,
8 Mile, great
Still is.
pump up song. Yeah.
Still in my rotation.
So my goaltending pre-game routine kind of evolved a little bit through the years, but what I ended up settling on was a particular set of off-ice warm-ups. So there was, like some runs, high knees, crossovers, carryovers, those kind of things. Some dynamic stretches, which shout out again to Sarah. She put those into my routine. So some dynamic stretches, juggling, not off the wall, just some hacky sacks, juggling them, and then a very specific playlist. And once I'd settled on that playlist, it hardly ever changed for my whole time.
Epic.
I was not a kind of a change it up kind of guy. I was like, I've got these songs. I put on certain parts of my gear to certain songs.
Yeah.
Sit,
Love that.
sit, and just listen to certain songs, juggle during certain songs. So it was, the actual getting change part was very centered on my playlist.
Yeah, nice. And did you have particular like game day pre-game meal? Like you got the grilled chicken and salad going?
Yeah,
Are
so
we a pasta guy? What?
pasta, well, it depended. So once I was in AIHL, we do road trips down to Canberra, as you'd remember. And so when we were heading,
Soggy subs.
yeah, there was always that one place we stopped at that had, like, I don't know what it was. It was like an Outback Steakhouse sandwich place. I really don't know, but I always got the steak sandwich with lettuce and tomato from there.
Yeah.
But I always tried my pre-game meal to do some sort of carb with protein.
Yeah.
So if I was at home and it was, a Liverpool game, I'd be having a bowl of pasta with, spaghetti bolognese or something like that.
Gotcha.
If we were on the road, it would usually be some sort of sandwich with some sort of protein in it.
Now, I've got one, and we've never actually asked this, but I'm actually acutely interested in this because I've never really been able to get into that mindset. But when you're on the
I never took
ice,
games seriously. That's
Yeah,
that's the
I'm never
translation.
good enough. Yeah.
The subtext to the question.
You guys took this shit serious? Holy hell.
What do
Relax.
you like when you're playing goalie? What is it about defensemen? And now it doesn't have to be the best player on the team that's a defenseman, but what do you look at defensive players and think, for me, enabling me to get my job done as the goaltender and them as a defenseman? What are the kind of things that stick out to you? Is it that like they never end up right in front of me, or that they're really getting people out of the crease, or like, or they just, you trust them when they're like backing up and angling a player? Like, what are the things from your perspective as a goalie that you look at a defensive player and just go, I like their style of play?
So defensemen who take the pass option That's very useful to me. I used to say to the D-men that I played with all the time, like, trust me with a shot.
Yeah.
You take the pass. Like, it's going to be much harder for me to get across for the pass than it is for me to take the shot. So defensemen that watch that cheat to the pass, I suppose you can say, that was really worked well for me. Defensemen who kept the center area clear, essentially, in the high slot on the rush, keeping that clear, because if you've got someone in the high slot on the rush, it just complicates things immensely for a goalie. And then on the setup, defensemen who would clear my sight lines. So if you're a defenseman and you're standing in front of me because, like, I'm going to get in the way of the shot, I'm tiny, so I cannot see what's going on. So any defenseman who is like, "I'll block the shot," I'm like, "No, just get out of my way. Like, I can't see anything past you. You're 3 times my height, right?" So defensemen who would either move out of my sight line themselves or would clear my sight line from other players that were there. That worked really well for me as well.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Did you ever get a chance to play with any of those, like, the cowlings on the skates that had like grip on the inside,
The Cobra cowlings from Graph and all them.
Yep. Did you ever play with them or ever have any?
No. So I used player skates for the longest time.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen this done before, and I've noticed it because they're like a different, the tuck holder on it. You can kind of pick it out. But talk to us about that. Why? And
so I wear orthotics in all my footwear.
Yep.
And when
You're a high arch guy?
No, I'm flat,
Flat?
completely flat.
There you go.
And so when I got my player skates, because I was still a player, we went down to the podiatrist, and the podiatrist took an old pair of my orthotics and basically cut them so that they would fit into the skate.
Yeah.
And so I was very hesitant to change.
With a pair of scissors?
Yeah.
No. I mean, he had like a grinder and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It didn't just hacking away.
That'll be 400. Like, what? Did you could have done it at home.
I could have, exactly. I could have taken the scissors myself, right? No, so he was basically hollowing out the because the orthotics sit very flat, the ones that I use, and so he's like hollowing out that section so that it fit with the curve of the skate, all the rest of that. So I was very hesitant to change skates. So I used player skates for the longest time, and then
did you just cut the tendon guard off it, or did you leave that on?
Just left it there, left completely unmodified. Yeah. And then while I was doing some goalie coaching with Gabe, obviously very noticeable that I'm using player skates. He's like, "Don't you want to switch to goalie skates?" And I explained the situation to him. He's like, "Bro, I've got boots at home, like from every brand. Just come down, try them out, and we'll get you in the right fit, right?" So I did that. I went to his place, one afternoon before training. I really can't remember. We tried out a bunch of them, and there were these Reebok ones with the old pump on the side.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And they just happened to fit the best. So he's like, "Cool, give me $20, whatever it was, and take them." So I did that. Came down to Skaters Network, got Wazza to put some cowlings on them.
Yep.
And, and went, and that's the transition into goalie skates. But
how good?
Always Bauer Vertex cowlings with the 3mm blades.
Oh, okay.
Sick. Love it.
Yeah, it was very specific.
What do you think about the Connect, the next generation with the
Talk to me about this new gear that's all these fancy new kids are wearing.
That ski boot looking one with the ankle flexion.
Yeah.
Don't know. I haven't tried it.
We're gonna go try them on after the podcast. Get you in. I love boas.
I hope you're a size 8.
I've only had boas when I was a snowboard instructor, and like I always used to look at them and be like, "Oh, boas, whatever." But it's so good. You get on the chairlift, you just pop them off, super relaxed. It's like you're just sitting on an armchair. Like you got your feet up, they're nice and loose, and then just click them and tighten it up. I love them.
There we go. New technology. The word that every goalie hates to hear.
100%. I'm ready for them on player skates. So Bauer, if you're listening, boas on the Hyperlight 3s, I'm ready. I'll come back for that.
Sean's down.
Get Sean into the R&D department.
It'd be awesome.
So do you have the same setup as you've had since you last stop playing?
So my goalie skates are now VH, which was the predecessor to True.
Yeah.
And yeah, that hasn't changed. So still a Bow Vertex cowling with the 3mm blades.
Yeah, nice.
They're so difficult to find now, though. I bought like 2 from Poland recently, and
Shut up,
Really?
really?
yeah, I got them because I mean, Bauer every so often, as they move forward with their technology, they seem to discontinue old stuff, as I'm
Yeah.
sure all brands do.
Yeah.
But being in Australia, it's particularly difficult. So when
Yep.
I was noticing it was difficult to get the cowlings, I was like, all right, I'm just going to do like an internet wide
Yeah.
search, and wherever it comes up, I'll take it,
Scrape
you
the
know.
whole internet
That is
to
awesome.
try and find.
Now, let's transition. Let's talk about officiating and referee. When did all this start in your hockey journey?
So officiating actually started in my second year of hockey. So I did Pee-wees 2005, 2006 coming into Bantams. I don't know if it's still the case with Ice Hockey New South Wales now, but they said if you want to play finals, you have to have done the officiating course.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you know, me, bright eyes, and all the rest, like, yeah, we're going to make finals, and we didn't. But in any event, it got me down to Blacktown Ice Arena above the
Yeah.
skate shop at the back, or the canteen there with the pro shop in the corner.
Yep.
With Jamie Miller was the guy who ran the course, and yeah, did the linesman course, or it might have been the linesman and referee course. I can't remember. It was just one day,
Yep.
and finished the test, and I got about 90%. And
Yep.
Jamie was like, "Oh, hey, you did really well. You should consider actually, becoming a linesman." So, third conversation with mum, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, mum, do you want to buy me some more hockey gear?" And yeah, got into it from there.
That is epic. I think that, like, those courses, I don't know, are they still mandatory? I think that they should be, because literally from someone who, like, I've played.
have the kids make sure they know what all the rules are.
Yeah. I coached. I think I had to do within the coaching course, they like touch on the rules and stuff. But honestly, majority of my hockey career, I was blind to the rules, like most of them anyway, the good ones. Like I knew all the bit slashing, cross checking.
Yeah,
all that kind
don't
of
hit
stuff.
anyone with your stick on the head.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. All that stuff. But there's so much involved in it, and there is so many rules that you just become a better player if you completely understand the boundaries and like everything that's going on. So you did that, and then you started, picking up linesman
Yep.
gigs and lining different games and things like that.
What game would they have you play?
So
Like, or ref, I should say.
my very first gig as an official was Heaton Cup.
Oh
Sick.
God!
Yeah.
You're dealing with
That is
those
awesome.
little animals out there.
Yeah, the little well, because I was a bantam,
Yeah,
right? So
of course, yeah.
I could officiate Pee-wees. So so it was Heaton Cup, some ridiculous time in the morning down at Canterbury, because
Yeah.
I always put the Pee-wees on really early.
Yeah.
But not too bad for me. I'm not too far from the
Yeah.
Canterbury rink.
Hey, and let's encourage all of our younger listeners. There is money to be made out there
is.
within the
they
stripes.
pay. They pay.
What were you making per game, kind of thing?
He's hiding his Rolex right now.
Yeah, it's just timepiece on the wrist.
Ferrari's out front.
Yeah, it's just
Because
my
it's-
daily drive. I can't take
Yeah.
them as a money. It's, you know.
It just gets
It's
me
a
from A
great
to B.
opportunity. Like I looked around and I was kind of kicking myself, because some of my friends who were playing hockey, they would line games and just getting money just for turning up at the rink. Like, what are you doing now? He's like, oh, I'm just hanging around. I'm just going to line the game and get money. I was like, why wasn't I doing that?
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Missed out.
So it's always paid.
Yep.
Luckily, I think it was at the time $20 to ref a game. Sorry, $20 to line a game and $30 to ref.
That's good money. That's
For
good.
for a what would I have been 14 for a 14-year-old
Yeah.
who's never had a job in his life. That
Yep.
was sick. Like doing something that I like doing,
Yeah.
showing up to more hockey,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the month getting a little bonus in your bank account. So
Yeah.
Right on.
It's awesome. Like one of my good friends, Spencer, who I always like, we all know Spencer, but I mean, he
Die
would
Hard Leafs
line
fan.
and ref games, and it's just, I don't know. He was all about it. He was constantly around the rink as well, which I think is awesome. So you move on, and then how does that start? Like, is there just the progression in it where you then start to like line bigger games, bigger tournaments? How does that kind of move through?
I honestly couldn't really tell you anything specific.
Yep.
Looking
Just hang around.
well, yeah, hang around by
don't
by
stop doing
attrition. Yeah, don't stop doing well. Honestly, that's part of it. Like longevity in officiating is quite rare. Like you
Yeah.
have a lot of kids that have a bad experience, and leave officiating, or
They need like psychologists, because I've seen some players, including myself, just abuse like officials and at the moment you're just like all heated and stuff, and then you don't care about it, but like
exactly, yeah.
there's a person on the other side of it, and once you sort of grow up, you're like, oh, I should
From an
start treating them
outside,
like people.
from me looking back on it though, I feel like it got better through my
It
time.
definitely
I
did.
think players got more respectful and kind of understood a lot more that like this service is like we can't have a game without
Yeah,
the officials.
yeah,
Like,
the stripes aren't there, we can't play it. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
we're not allowed to play.
Have you found that, Marco, that like over the years, people's understanding of how important officiating is and their kind of the way that you're treated has improved, or like you have less interactions that are kind of like, oh,
I think I think the question really needs to be divided into two sort of parts. So if we're talking my personal experience, particularly in the higher level leagues,
Yep.
definitely I feel like sorry. I feel like I've earned the respect of a lot of players, and the interactions are, a lot more friendly. I certainly don't. I mean, I recognize that the game gets heated and people say things, and I don't take any of it personally. But I think overall, from my personal experience in the higher levels, definitely the level of respect has increased. I think generally speaking, for officials, and if you kind of exclude the higher levels, I don't think there's been much improvement, to be honest.
Right.
I do I help out Ice Hockey New South Wales where I can. I don't just officiate in the AIHL. And sometimes you're doing a senior four at 9:30 at Liverpool on a Sunday, and you make an offside call, and there's a guy there that's arguing with you, and it's
Yeah.
like, mate, bugger off.
Yeah,
Like,
and he can barely skate too.
exactly, yeah. It's
and
like,
he's like telling you about the game, like, all right, listen
so
here, mate.
I think overall,
Yep.
at least in my experience, there hasn't been an awful lot of improvement at the more recreational levels, let's say, but definitely at the higher levels, I feel like I've earned the respect of a lot of the guys out there,
Yeah.
and they treat me with more
Yeah.
respect.
What's a wild, like, do you have any wild stories of like these absolute animals in like just going crazy or abusing people, or trying to attack an official? Have you ever seen anything wild like that in person? Junior or senior?
I've been very fortunate. I've never been involved in any sort of physical issue. I've never had anyone. I've certainly heard about it.
Yeah.
And there's been games where there's been wild instances between the players.
Yeah.
But I've been very fortunate to not have been involved in anything physical. I've certainly been approached like outside the rink, and just
Really?
people unloading on me outside the rink.
I'm still disappointed about that icing. Like, come on. Like,
So yeah, game
you lost
game
5-0. Like, the icing didn't affect it.
game finished half an hour ago, guys.
Yeah, like, finish your beer and get the hell out of here.
So yeah, I think overall I've been quite fortunate, and I think that's
good.
contributed to the longevity in the game, thankfully.
Yeah, PSA here. Don't hit the officials. Be
No, I
nice.
mean, and that's a real thing, isn't
they're
it? Because
people
like,
too.
what happens like if somebody has an altercation with an official? Like, if you touch a ref now, what's the rules for like?
Oh, send them to prison.
Well, I don't know. I actually couldn't tell you what the sanction that would come down from Ice Hockey New South Wales is. There's certainly been improvements in the tribunal process over the years.
Yep.
I think the guidelines for tribunal members and the ability to appeal certain punishments has really been tightened.
Yep.
So I think there's definitely been improvement in that respect, but having not encountered any sort of incident like that personally, and having not heard about one recently as well, which is good. I couldn't tell you what the situation with that is right now.
Are you happy with how that whole setup is, in terms of the whole structure with the officials, how it's run, the tribunal process, the rules itself, and how they're sort of enforced?
My entire experience with the tribunal process in both Ice Hockey New South Wales and Ice Hockey Australia has been positive. Those people are the people that are involved in that process. So I think there's always small tweaks that can be made to improve the process, but I think for the level that the sport is at, it's probably in a pretty good place.
Yeah. And do you think we need more officials coming in? Like, is there a
Definitely,
shortage?
definitely need more officials. Like,
Okay.
we've this weekend we've got myself and Jeff Scott doing a bantam, a midget game, and there's no linesman, so
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
yeah,
So that's the call out. Like,
yeah.
need
So
more. So if you're 16, what have you got to do to become a linesman?
show up to an officiating course at the beginning of the year.
Pay attention.
And you can find those at Ice Hockey New South Wales website or Ice Hockey Australia website.
Yep,
potentially.
the Ice Hockey New South Wales website for
Yep.
for us. I'm not sure that Ice Hockey Australia run their own independent courses.
Yep.
So,
But
whatever your local state organization is, I'm sure they have a portal there.
yeah, 100%.
It's just like a 1-day course, and then you get skilled up.
Let the allocator know that you're willing to participate, and that's Robin for us, Robin Revalier. And let them know about your availabilities, and you will 100% get games. There is no, at least in Ice Hockey New South Wales, there is no world where you're not getting games.
And like, is there like a sort of a website that you log into as like, say you're an official or whatever? How do you get told about what games are available and whatnot? Like, is there like a portal there or an app or something that you guys use to structure that?
There's a website that we use at Ice Hockey New South Wales level and at the IIHL level called Horizon WebRef.
Okay.
It's a website. You can download the app for it as well. I mostly interact with it through the app in my phone.
Yeah.
And when the allocators release games, you get notified about it.
Okay.
And you jump into the app. You indicate which games you're available for. You can even indicate, I mean, I always just put no preference, but you can even indicate if you want to be a referee or a linesman in that game.
Gotcha.
And you wait for the allocator to allocate.
So it just pops up, and you just go $30, $30, $30, $30. Just keep clicking down.
Just keep clicking. Exactly. Yeah.
It should make it sound like that. It'll make it like, yeah,
It does. It does. I hear make that sound. Yeah,
it
when
should.
you click it.
If the app doesn't, add that to your update, because that would be
I mean,
that'd be
that's-
sick.
Yeah. R&D for Horizon WebRef.
There you go.
And I think that that's such a great opportunity because it's like it's in a sport that we all love, and there's so many people around that's supportive, and so if you're a kid and you're playing hockey and you're thinking about like a second job or like a first job really, then why not give officiating a try, because you're involved in it, you meet lots of your friends anyway that are out there and different people from around the sport, so it's a great
And you're
opportunity.
already at the rink.
Exactly.
You're already at the rink. Like, you just look at your schedule, go, all right, cool, I got a 2 p.m. game. What's available?
I'll do the 3:45
Yeah.
and the 5:30.
There you go.
And I dare say you get to, just watch hockey for free then. And
Yeah, you will. You
we
will.
end
Yeah.
up, call some things, get in the bin. It's good.
And honestly, that's one of the best experiences for officials. You get the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, officials are right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no one that's closer to the action than you.
Yeah.
So good.
You just need the pants and the jersey, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, AIHL, lining their officiating. What is the process to get IIHF certified so that then you are able to go and, officiate in the World Championships?
So you need to, as you said, you need to get a IIHF certified, and that involves your local association giving you a IIHF license. There's 3 classes of license. There's A, B, and C. A licenses are for the top division stuff, so you're doing Whirlpool and all the rest of those. B class licenses, I think you're allowed to do up to Division 1.
Yep.
And then C class licenses are for basically they call them domestic internationals. So you're doing the Trans-Tasman Series, for example. So the first step is getting your local association to give you a license. The way to do that, you have to be one of the go-to guys in your local association.
Yep.
And you have to dominate.
Yeah.
You have to stand out.
Yeah.
So if you're not standing out at the top level, then you're probably not in the running to be considered to get a license.
So that's like skating fast, always making the right calls, knowledgeable,
Yeah, so it's about all those things. If we're talking specifics, I certainly think positioning is really important. You can't make the right call if you're in the wrong position. Well, I mean you can, but you're less likely to make the right call if you're in the wrong position. So positioning is definitely a big part of it. Skating to the extent that it gets you into the right position, and I say that because I'm quite a weak skater, and I mean we can talk about the testing results from IIHF that I got at my most recent tournament. So I'm quite a weak skater, but I've found ways to make it work for me in the game so that I can get to the right position with plenty of time. As you move up the ranks, communication is a huge factor, not only with the players but with your other teammate. I mean, like your other referees. If you're not communicating with, if you're the linesman, if you're not communicating with the other linesman, or if you're the referee in a 4-man system and you're not communicating with the other referee, you're making your job like 3-4 times harder. If you communicate, it really helps work. It really helps you work the game. So as I said, positioning, communication when you're at the top level, definitely skating to the extent that it helps you get into the right position. And as you move up, as you move further up, once you're at the IIHF level, then fitness and what you're doing off ice, those kind of things really become important as well.
That is epic. Yeah. So, which license have you got?
I've got a B class license.
B-class license.
So means I can do IIHF tournaments.
Yep.
So like World Men Division 4, which is the one I did. It means I can also do local domestic international tournaments. So like Trans Tasman Cup.
Yep.
But it as I said, I'm fairly certain I can do up to Division 1. I'd have to double check that, so don't take that as gospel. But yeah, your A class license is what's required to do World Division, Olympic qualifiers, all the rest of that kind of thing.
Now we're getting on to Division 4 in Kuwait that you recently went over to line at.
Yeah.
What was the process in getting into that tournament and getting a spot there?
So if we want to do the full process, started way back in 2022.
Yep.
So in that year, discussing with Kent, who's our RIC.
Yep.
Discussing with Kent, sort of saying, hey, I'm interested in sort of pushing into the IIHF space. What can I do about it? And Kent's position was basically like, well, you're actually quite a well-developed linesman. You're doing all the right things. Keep up the effort, and we'll put you into consideration when it comes time to decide the licenses. Right? 2023, I get my C class license.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't get allocated to any events, which was a bit disappointing, but that's the way it goes. There's only a few licenses that get given out. There's even less spots to officiate. But same thing, kind of just working on everything that I'd been doing, making sure my communication was there, making sure that I was doing what I could to be in the right position.
Yeah.
Keep working the high level games at AIHL. Keep making yourself available. Right. 2023 is coming to an end. It's the off season, and I get a call from Kent on the weekend, and he says, "Hey man," he says, "I know you're a lawyer. Everything's really busy.
Yeah.
So I just want to call and check that you'd be available for an IIHF tournament next year." And I said, I said I'd need to know dates and everything. I said, but I'm pretty sure I can convince my boss to let me go for a week for an IIHF tournament. And he's like, all right. He's like, I'll see what I can do. I'm going to put you forward at the Congress, and we'll see what comes of it. And yeah, got allocated to the Division 4 tournament in Kuwait. And not long after that happened, he gave me a call. He's like, hey mate, you're in. Go get these dates. I need to know by the end of the week so that we can confirm with IIHF, and then it's going to get the ball rolling from there. And next day I was in my boss's office. I was like, hey man, this has just happened. Like I've just been allocated to this amazing tournament in Kuwait. Can I go?
He's got the stripes on underneath.
Yeah. just under my suit jacket. I was like,
coach.
yeah. And yeah, I got leave for it. I let Kent know, and it just it got rolling from there.
Right on. That's unreal.
Now that's fully paid for by IIHF as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? So it's like just free ride. I mean, you got to work. You are working.
First class. No, I'm kidding.
I wish.
So could you imagine?
just like rock up to the airport in, Emirates limo or whatever
Yeah.
it is, the service that they have for their first class passengers.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be sick.
So what was the travel like? So flew out of Sydney, and
Yep.
then where'd you fly next?
So Sydney, Dubai,
Yep.
direct, and then from Dubai to Kuwait City.
Sorry, real quick, what was the time frame between you knowing that you were going to go and then the actual tournament? It was like
quite decent. So I found out that I got allocated to the tournament in December of
and then
2023.
the tournament was in about
In April 2024.
So you were straight in the gym, squatting.
Well, so I mean, I keep up an off ice routine anyway, but
cool.
yeah, like the preparation, I just went into like overdrive mode.
Let's go.
My
Yeah.
preparation for
Yeah.
this tournament, because particularly one of the comments Kent had made to me is like, look, it's I mean, it's a great opportunity, but it's probably a lower division than you probably want. But this is your chance to shine. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to impress IIHF, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like my preparation just went into overdrive for
That's
this.
sick.
And then what was the flight from Abu Dhabi to Kuwait City? What was that like?
1.5 hours.
Yeah. And so land there.
Yep.
What's it like? Because I mean, Kuwait is so much history. It's at the southern end of Iraq, and then it borders Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
Well.
Yep.
It's like north up that coastline from Abu Dhabi and Qatar and below Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of history in that region.
He's
yeah,
a big Middle
sure.
Eastern historian, this guy. He loves the region.
Amazing. Iran is across the water. It's great.
You booking a
I've
holiday
been
soon?
to Abu Dhabi, but that's it.
Yeah.
So get off the plane.
So yeah, get off the plane. As I said to you before, I've been fortunate that I've lived in a few different countries. So arriving in airports, I'm usually pretty confident that I can navigate and everything. You kind of come through sort of the boarding lounge, because I mean you board and you exit through the same area. As soon as we get out of the boarding lounge, there's this big Middle Eastern guy in like the very traditional, I forget the name of the clothes that they wear, but the traditional Middle Eastern clothes, like the white. I don't want to call it a dress, but
Like a roby,
the white robe with the scarf that's kept in by the rope or whatever. I'm probably being very offensive to Middle Eastern.
You know what we're talking about.
But anyway, he's there holding up a sign that has IIHF and then Tomasello, and I point to it and I point to me, and
You must have felt like a baller then when
yeah, like just rocking up, right? And
Can I keep him? Is he my assistant?
he calls out to some other guy that's standing off to the corner, and then he comes in and he's in a suit and everything, like full suit, tie, and he's like, "Oh, are you Mr. Tomasello?" I said, "Yes, come with me." So basically being escorted by these two Middle Eastern guys to customs.
Yeah.
They just go, "Give me your passport." So I give him my passport. They just walk straight behind the counter. Like, not even, no protocol, nothing. They walk straight behind the counter. They tap one of the guys there on the shoulder. They give him the passport. He starts running all the checks and whatever he's doing, right?
He's with us.
Yeah, exactly, right? Takes me to then takes me down to get like my fingerprints and my face, my photo and whatnot. Same thing, like there's a line there. They're just like,
VIP coming through.
Yeah. And same thing, like we get to the bag scan, like this guy, the guy in the suit is the one that's escorting me now, like just cuts straight to the line, like puts his hand out and lets me put my bag and everything on the conveyor belt. We get out and there's this ginormous 4-wheel drive, all black, waiting for me. And he's like, that's your ride. The driver comes out and helps me put the bags into the back. We hop in and I'm thinking like, ginormous 4-wheel drive. Surely there's more guys.
Yeah, waiting on the other guys.
Yeah, no, we just take off. We're driving to the airport, and I'm saying to the driver, he's speaking. Everyone in Kuwait speaks English, or almost everyone in Kuwait speaks English, and so I'm saying to the driver, who is not Kuwaiti as well, like the people working in Kuwait tend to not be Kuwaiti.
Gotcha.
So I said to the driver, how's your day been? Trying to, strike up a conversation with him. How many people have come? Am I the first one? He's like, oh no, I've probably done about 6 or 7 trips today. Like 6 or 7 trips. He's like, yeah, like someone comes, we pick them up, we take them to the airport, I drive back, I pick up the next person. So they're like ferrying guys one by one.
That's awesome.
So get to the hotel. There's I assume they're from the local Kuwaiti ice hockey committee there. Big bunch of people, same sort of thing. Like there's scanners at the front of the hotel and like X-ray machines. They're like, nah, just come through, get me all signed in. They get me done at the at reception, get my room key. They give me a bag, which I didn't bring in, but like a bag with some goods in there, like a cap, and there was my lanyard, which I have brought, a couple of other things, and then up to my room.
So
Into the penthouse.
Well, it was on the top floor, but it wasn't the penthouse.
Gotcha.
So,
It was the penthouse. It was the penthouse. Yeah, he just doesn't want to say it. That's it. Bottle of champagne ready to go.
And so what's the time frame like? So you arrived, and then when did games start?
so the game started the next day.
Yep.
I was actually one of the first officials to like on ice officials. There are other IIHF delegates that had arrived before me. Clearly, my roommate, when he arrived, he is from Malaysia,
Oh, cool.
and the IIHF officiating coach was from Malaysia as well, so he knew him.
Yeah, right.
And JY was my roommate, and Alvin was the officiating coach. And JY says to me, he says, Alvin's going down to the rink to check it out just to make sure everything's good to go. Do you want to come? I was like, let's check out the rink that I'm going to be officiating in tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And so we headed off to the rink. Team Indonesia was on the ice training at the time. We arrive at the rink.
Yep.
And I remember looking around, and there's just construction everywhere. Like they're still putting up the decals and everything. And I'm thinking to myself,
There's ice though, right? Like
the
ice is down.
So the rink is there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all the detailing, right?
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Team Mongolia change room still not finished.
Oh wow.
So so we show up, and with Alvin and Danny Kerman, who's the head of the director of officiating for IIHF. He just happened to be at this tournament as well. We're doing a walk through the rink, and as I said, there's so much stuff that's just not finished. We get to the referee's room. There's a desk in there with a computer on it. I mean, it's got showers, like it's a proper change room, but there's a desk in there with a computer and a printer, and that's it. And Alvin was like, we're gonna need some stalls here. We're gonna need a table here. We're gonna need a chair. We're gonna need some hooks on the wall. There's a guy there that's like, yep, no worries. We'll get it all done, writing it all down and everything. The next day, we arrive at the rink. Everything's finished.
Really?
The rink is
So
like
when you were in there,
competition ready.
That would have been 24/7 working on that thing.
yeah.
Like,
So
Yeah.
you
to
reckon
the
they
end.
worked all night to like finish it off and
I
get it?
look, I don't know when they did it, but like we rocked up. So we get to the officials' change room.
Yep.
Didn't have it had a glass door on it.
Yep.
But there was no sticker on the glass door, so like you could see straight in. There's this big IIHF sticker that says referees, and like at the full door, we go in there, 4 stalls. There's a table.
Yep.
There's 2 chairs. I mean, the shower and all that was already there. Like it's a separate room and everything.
Yep.
Everything, the hooks on the wall that Alvin had asked for. Everything.
You should have added a few extra things. Like, we're gonna need a hot tub right here, ice bath. Yeah, okay. Sauna should go in this
Skate
corner.
sharpener.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the Sparks machine?
Yeah.
So
And a trainer. Where's the masseuse?
Oh.
We need space
So
for the table.
what's the rink like in Kuwait City? Is it double pad, single pad?
single pad, super professional inside. Like it's got glass, all the ice markings. It's got the trapezoid behind the
Really?
behind the goal net.
Yeah, they do trapezoid.
Curved glasses at the curved glass at the bench.
Really?
Yeah, where the players, so not the foam padded
yeah,
stanchion
yeah.
or whatever.
That's
That's
so
actually
much
got
better.
curved glass. On the insides of the board for the players, there's areas for your drink bottles and everything. Proper setup for the scorekeeper's box. Proper setup for the penalty box. It's got stands running from the back on one side around up the side of the rink.
Yep.
Then it's got a VIP section up the top at the other end of the rink, and a VIP section on top of the stands.
Yep.
That kind of overlooks center ice. And then it's got all the lighting setups and the flags and everything on the other side, but very, very professional setup.
Yeah.
So how was it? How was lining at world competition? Like
How's the
world
ice?
champs?
That's
That
what I
is-
want to know. Was the ice brutal?
The ice was good. The ice was quite hard. It wasn't soft ice. It was really was hard ice. The experience was amazing. I had such a good time. It was the way that I describe it to everyone was like being a professional official for a week.
Yeah.
We did morning skates every other day.
Yep.
And I mean, okay, it's a 4-day tournament, so 2 morning skates, but the routine of the day was basically wake up quite early because our session was 8 a.m. on ice. Wake up quite early, go down to the hotel restaurant, also all paid for, like any food we wanted.
Good food.
It was buffet and just everything you can imagine.
Nice, right on.
So have a really light breakfast. Everyone jump on the bus, go down to the rink, do the morning skate, come back, have heavy breakfast or proper breakfast, whatever you want to say, with everyone there, like the whole team, whole officiating crew is there. Then we'd go and have a meeting about today's games, yesterday's games, whatever needed to be discussed. Then we had a couple of hours to kick around the hotel. Some guys would go to the gym. Some guys, went to the pool. There was sauna facilities.
Let's go.
I used it to get in my pre-game nap.
Yeah.
Then everyone into suit and tie, head down to the rink, and you either watch the first game and officiated the second, or the other way around, officiated the first game and watch the second, back into, have a shower, back into your suit. We had stalls, so if you were doing the first game the next day, you just left your gear in the stalls.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I know, right? That was so good.
Yeah.
I've never been in a situation, even tournaments up in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to leave your gear there.
Ah.
Like, you have to take it with you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
So got to leave, if you were doing the first game the next day, got to leave your gear there. If you weren't doing the first game, you put it outside for like half an hour and it was dry.
A bit extra crispy. You had to take it out. It's melting. Get it out.
I have a photo on my Facebook of like the drying situation. It's like just gear everywhere.
Yeah.
It's wherever it could go,
hilarious.
and it would dry. Head back to the hotel, have dinner, hit the sack, and do it all again the next day.
How was that morning skate? Like, what do you guys do? Do you have specific like edge work drills, skating drills? Do you just do like a few quick sprints up and down, like you're catching an icing?
So
What entails it?
we did two morning skates, as I said,
Yeah.
because it's only a 4-day tournament. The first morning skate, I think, was just more about finding our feet. We didn't really do any drills or anything. We were skating
Get the
around.
plane legs out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were doing, we were kind of doing, laps and do this between the blue line. That was probably about the extent of our actual drills.
Yep.
There were a couple of I don't really know how to, like, sort of agility work or like getting your edges in, all that. It was really about dialing it in. And then we played just like a game. So we had a football that we would throw. Like, you weren't allowed to take more than 3 strides when you had the football, get it between the goals, kind of thing, just to sort of build that team environment.
Yeah.
The second day was much more focused on drills, so practicing puck drops, practicing, for the linesman, particularly backing out of the face-off circle, getting up to the line. That was probably the first half of the morning skate, and then the second half was all the testing.
Yeah.
So we tested on 2 main drills that they do at apparently I've not been to any other IIHF tournaments, but talking to other people, 2 drills that they test at every IIHF tournament.
Gotcha.
The first one is called the GPS drill.
Yeah.
And then the second one is known by a couple of names, but figure 8 or 5 laps.
Yeah.
The GPS drill is a test of skating.
Yeah.
So drop the puck at center ice, backwards skating through sort of like a slalom, get down behind the goal, stop, do that coming forward, and then do the same thing on the other side.
Yeah.
The figure 8 drill is a test of fitness.
Yeah.
So between basically like the end zone face-off dot in one zone and the end zone face-off dot in the other, and you're doing a figure 8.
Gotcha.
Five full laps. So it's not like a half is one.
No,
It's like you have to come back. That's one. Do 5 laps. And because, you've got both sides, so you're competing with someone on the other side as well.
That's a bagger, that one.
It is. It
That
is.
is a lot of skating.
By the end of it, your legs feel like they're just jelly. Like, they're not cooperating with you.
Yeah.
And so, Marco, from doing that, kind of, how did the tournament kind of evolve? And you're talking about the officiating coach, and this was something interesting that I had never kind of understood or didn't know about. But so there's a coach that is like high level and is overseeing kind of how it's progressing from the officiating side of things.
Yep.
And so, like, what are the things that are brought up, like, in the meetings and after, like, say, the first 2 days of games? Like, what are the comments that are kind of coming through, and how does everyone use that to either adjust what they're doing, or how does that all work?
So the ordinarily there's 2 officiating coaches, as I understand. We strictly had 2 because Danny was the other officiating coach, but he's director of officiating for IIHF. So I think he took just a very hands-off approach, let Alvin really work on it and do his thing. So the way that the officiating coach worked, and I assume works at IIHF tournaments generally, is they're in charge of all the allocations and everything. They run those morning meetings. The first morning meeting we did was really about, hey, everyone, these are the procedures. We have to make sure we're nailing these procedures. Like we all have to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And actually, while we were going through it, we found a mistake in the procedure manual from IIHF. So it was like, hey, we're ignoring that. That's not the way that we're doing it. We're going to do it this way, right?
Yeah.
And there's flexibility in the procedures, but it's basically talking about this is the standard that we want to see on the ice.
Yeah.
Then when you're actually doing the game between each period, because there's proper ice cuts and it's like 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I forget which one it is between each period.
Yep.
You're in the change room, just the 3 officials plus the officiating coach, and you're getting feedback on that period. So, hey, you were doing this really well, but you need to work on this, or make sure you're getting to your line on time, or be more patient, or take your time with the face-offs. That's actually feedback that I got. Like,
Really? Yeah.
yeah, take your time with the face-offs, and the face-offs at IIHF level are so different to that face-offs at AIHL level. So
You can
feedback
actually
like that.
see the dot.
Yeah, you can actually see the ice markings.
And the circles. They have circles. With hash marks, yeah. You can actually see the paint. It's weird.
It's not.
It's very unfamiliar, right?
Is it that bad? Like, tell me I'm lying. It's that bad.
At Macquarie, you can't see anything.
Okay.
Brizzy as well.
Okay.
Come on, mate. I'm in the game. I know the guys.
I'm in the
that, like,
trenches here.
You see guys literally point. I think it's there.
Yeah, like that's what I do before every face up in Macquarie. Like I point,
I'm gonna drop it
guys,
right
I'm
there.
dropping the puck here.
Right there.
And like some guys are like, where? I'm like, just this patch of ice. Like there's actually nothing I can indicate to you. But I mean, that's ice hockey.
We digress, yeah.
Right?
We digress.
So
it is what it is.
it's and at least we've got those setups. So we've got a rink to use, and we've got a national league, right?
And you're very stringent as well, like guys being in the circle and their side of the hash mark.
Correct.
If you miss that sort of stuff, they can sort of give you a little slap on the wrist.
Well,
or I guess in your report they can sort of highlight that.
And they do bring that up in between periods and at the end of the game, and you get a report after each game like that ranks you and like says, hey, these are the things you need to work on, these are the things that you did really well. But one of the other big changes between let's say the local Australian league, AIHL and IIHF, is that there's a sense of shared responsibility, and the officiating coaches expect that.
Yeah.
So if I'm dropping the puck and I'm not paying attention to the guys that are encroaching on the circle, sure, it's my fault because I'm not running the face-off properly. But then the officiating coach says to the other linesman, like, you could clearly see that.
Yeah.
Why didn't you blow the whistle and give a warning?
Yeah.
Right? And a perfect example of it in the Mongolia versus Kuwait game, which was just off the chops. There was 354 penalty minutes in that game.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
wow.
off the chops. We all...
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Swords?
That is crazy.
We all missed a checking to the head penalty.
Oh no.
Yeah. And when you watch the replay, it's like clear as day.
Yeah.
Was it back play or was it like
No, it was in. So what had happened was there'd been a high stick.
Yep.
So player A had high sticked player B.
Yep.
And then a player from player B's team comes in a little bit, like maybe 5 seconds after that play, when player A is in the corner going into battle for the puck, just cross checks him straight to the head. We all missed it, right?
Oh, no.
The feedback was like to the referee, hey man, you missed this. But also to myself and the other linesmen, like, where were you looking? Why didn't you? There's 3 guys out there on the ice. How did you all miss it?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the style of or the expectation of the responsibility when you're officiating at that level. It's not just the referee's responsibility to call penalties. It's a
shared team aspect.
Correct. And we actually had video replay at that tournament, so they were able to do like a supplementary discipline thing.
Yeah.
So the player still got penalized.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the feedback was like, all you guys missed that, and it's actually on my final report that I got for the tournament. It's like you need to be keeping an eye out for those kind of penalties and assisting the referee.
Yeah. Take ownership of that responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so, Marco, what are some things that you kind of learned at that tournament that you're going to bring forward into officiating now back in Australia? Like, is there any things that you pull into your game here? Like, is it like you're going to be really hard on people like creeping the circle, or like?
I think Funsey can tell you that I've been pretty tough on guys encroaching on the circle, even
Yeah.
though I can't really see it. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's like if I tell you not to move,
You're asserting your dominance there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
You're
that's
letting the
the
guys
limit.
know, like, hey, man, like, you want me to drop this puck? Back the hell up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you creeping in on my circle because I'm trying to get to the big show here.
And
Because you're trying to keep those good habits
Correct.
that you picked up at
Correct.
IIHF. Like, this is the expectation.
Yeah.
We fall under IIHF rules here in Australia, so you're keeping that high quality as well.
That's
Because if you let it go, then you give guys certain advantages, and you might be seen as being biased and whatnot. So if you just keep that standard throughout the rest of your career, then
and
people expect that from you.
correct. It becomes an expectation, and they understand that that's the way
Yeah.
that you run your face-offs, all right? And so there's an element of adapting. As I said, in Australia, the face-offs are very, very different. The players really expect a very quick puck drop. So it's kind of like as soon as the attacking player has got their stick down, you're dropping that puck. Whereas at IIHF level, it's everyone like basically make sure everyone's set up,
Everything
no
is-
one's moving kind of thing, right? So there are some changes that come through, but I certainly think one of the things that's definitely coming back from that IIHF tournament is that shared responsibility. Like
okay.
it's not, and particularly in AIHL where we have 4 officials on the ice,
Yeah.
it's not just the referee's responsibility to have a look out for those things. Like there's 2 other sets of eyes in the linesman who can also be watching for those kind of plays. And sure, you've got your roles, you've got the areas that you're looking at, but particularly if you're the back linesman, you've got that ability to say like, all right, I can see there's this guy, he's cheating high. I'm going to keep an eye on him because I need to watch for the offside pass. But I'm also keeping an eye on what's going in on this in the zone because the referee might be obstructed from this, and there's 2 guys that are battling in front of the net that the back referee can't really see because there's a defender waiting there to line up his one timer or whatever the situation is. So I think that shared responsibility thing is definitely something that will be brought back. And probably one of the other things that comes into it is just refining those procedures.
Yeah.
So like you were saying with the face-offs being there's an element of adapting, but then there's also an element of like, hey, this is actually the procedure and this is the standard that we're going to enforce.
Yeah. And also, like, if you communicate that with all the other linesmen that you work with, then it trickles down to
Through
the
the
rest.
league, yeah.
And it becomes the standard for everyone because they see, like, hey, this guy's now, he's come from where I was, just doing the local leagues. Now he's doing international games and he's coming back like this. That's expected. If they want to be at that same level, this is what you're going to have to do to get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Does ice hockey, like New South Wales, have like a forum, or is there that kind of conversation with you that bring in that knowledge from IIHF and help out the other younger officials kind of thing, like the linesman or anything like that, or is that something that you do just off your own back to kind of give them some advice moving through, or how does that all
Do
work?
like a ref summer camp.
Ref summer camp.
That would be really cool to have some sort of summer camp for the refs or something like
New
that.
business. Let's start it, Sean.
I think it could be good.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing the development back to the league,
Yep.
there's not really any formal structures, unfortunately. A lot of it is just by doing the games and younger officials, or I mean, even officials that are of a relatively similar age, asking for feedback. If there's some really big issue, I'll kind of offer the feedback unsolicited, like, hey, make sure you're doing this, or hey, make sure you're waiting for that, or whatever the situation is. But at least for me personally, it works a lot better if just even in between periods or at the end of the game, you say, hey, was there anything that you
How'd I do?
noticed?
What do you guys think?
Exactly, right? Because that lets me know that you're interested in improving, and it helps me to tailor the advice to you, right? So I'm not looking for like, oh my God, what's the main thing that you did wrong? Like I need to focus on that. I'm more going, okay, this guy's interested in, or this girl as well, is interested in improving their skills as an official, what are some of the elements of feedback that they probably won't get from other officials that I can give them that will help them
Yeah.
get the edge,
Yeah.
right? In the AIHL, there are some communication structures between the officials.
Yep.
Kent makes sure that all the officials are included in the communications that go out to the league. And so if there's an issue we're noticing, like neck guards is the big thing for this year,
Yeah.
right? So, hey, guys, we really need to focus on making sure everyone's wearing their neck guards properly. And that communication goes out to all the officials. So there is that structure there. But it's not a formal feedback structure in the sense of like me saying, hey, this is something that I've noticed that that we can probably all work on.
Yeah.
Right. Certainly if Kent sees something that we can all work on,
Yeah.
he can filter that feedback down to the league.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to do that on a WhatsApp group.
correct. But there is also provision for officials to request feedback from Kent as well. So
Gotcha.
if you have a game and it's like, hey, I don't know why I lost control of that game, or I don't know why this incident happened, you can let Kent know and he'll provide you with some feedback. So
Yeah, gotcha.
there is the beginnings of a formal feedback structure.
Like a report card type thing for each game.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a report card for each game, but there's the beginning of that structure in our IHL, which is good to see.
Yeah.
But there's not too much that me as an individual official can offer to the group as a whole. It's very much individual feedback as I do games with players, as I do games with officials.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. You've inspired me, Marco. I think I might have to suit up and get my ticket.
Yeah, get down to
I need to work on
course
the
at the beginning of the
skating.
year.
Yep.
Put on the stripes. We'd be glad to have you, Sean.
We need you to work on your skating.
I think, it's skating. That's I haven't even got there
I
yet.
haven't even- I haven't
They've
even-
already sent the report card. Skating,
skating.
definitely.
They looked at him and like, before he even did the test, like, have you been skating? Have you been skating?
Yeah, that'd
Show
be
me.
great. And okay, so wrapped up the tournament in Kuwait.
Yep.
Loved your time. Did you go and do any sightseeing? Like, did you get a bit of a travel around? Like,
I did. I went down to Oman and spent a week in Oman.
so good.
Yeah, Oman was amazing as well. It was not quite what I expected. The Middle East, by and large, there's a lot of push towards modernizing it. Like if you go to Dubai and Saudi Arabia and places like that, even in Kuwait, there's a lot of push towards bringing it. I don't want to say bringing it into the 21st century, but sort of making it modern in their own way.
Yep.
Oman is still very much in touch with its traditional, if I can call it, Arabian roots.
Yep.
Certainly the experiences that I engaged with over there were focused on sort of immersing myself in that sort of traditional culture and those traditional roots. But by and large, the country is still very much focused on maintaining touch with their heritage.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Marco, you also spent time in Winnipeg, didn't you?
Yes.
Were you studying? Did you go over there to study when you went to Winnipeg, or how did that all come together?
I'd completed my studies by that time, so
Okay.
I went over to work.
Yep.
Basically what had happened was I'd finished my law degree. I'd gone back to university to complete my science degree, which I started in a dual stream degree, science law. Ended up dropping the science because the university I went to, which was UWS, just down the road here, didn't offer physics, which is what I wanted to do. So I finished off my law degree, went back to Macquarie to do my science degree, and I just ended up hating it. I was not enjoying it. I don't know if it was because I'd done 5 years of a law degree and I was kind of over uni, or what the situation was, but I was just over it. So I dropped out, and I kind of bummed around for 2016. Really didn't do anything. Kept working my swimming coaching job. Kept showing up to the rinks and everything, but like there's just nothing really going on. And got towards the end of the year, and I thought to myself, I still don't really want to get into law practice because I'm going to be tied to this jurisdiction. So what do I want to do? And I decided I wanted to live overseas for a while. So I weighed up my options. I mean, I'm an Italian citizen. thankfully, because of my dad. So had to look at working in Europe, this language barrier there. Had to look at working in a couple of different places. Ended up settling on North America. My eligibility for a working visa in the USA expired quite quickly after I made that decision. So it was like, okay, Canada.
Done.
And Jimmy Dufour sold me on Winnipeg. That's where he's from. So he sold me on Winnipeg. Picked up my bags,
Awesome.
went to
Winterpeg.
Winter. It is. That's
Oh
what
my
everyone calls it,
God.
Winterpeg, and it's
Do you like-
earned that
do you like freezing
reputation.
your ass off all the time? Winnipeg.
And what did you do in Winnipeg? You're working?
So I
Hibernated.
Yeah, hibernated. It almost turned out to be that I showed up with no job. Like I just my bags and a 2-week Airbnb.
Yep.
And I just
Figure
went,
it out,
yeah,
kid.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was such a good life experience. So yeah, showed up, went down to they call it Staples over there. It's like the equivalent of Officeworks.
Yeah.
Bought myself a printer, started printing off resumes like crazy. Every law firm I could find, throwing my resume at them, being like, hey, not qualified lawyer, but I have a law degree, interested in being a paralegal or some sort of assistant here. Didn't get a job in law to begin with.
Yep.
I initially started working for an agricultural manufacturing company called Macdon.
Yeah.
They've got a distribution center down in Melbourne. They're global, but basically working in their customer service department, taking calls from farmers, being like, "Hey, what's this part? Where do I order it?" Did that for the summer.
Yep.
Because that was their busiest time, harvest, when all the farmers are out using
Gotcha,
their
yeah.
equipment. And then I got a call from a law firm called Bull and Camelot Frolinger, and they were like, "Hey, we've got your resume from ages ago. Whenever I threw it in there, we have a paralegal position open. Are you interested?" I was like, "Yep." Went down, did the interview, got the job, and ended up working there for the remaining 18 months or so.
That is so good.
What?
Yeah.
And playing hockey at the same time, or
Uh,
lining, or
Not playing, but officiating.
Yep.
Yeah. So the second place I ended up living, funnily enough, was the basement apartment of this elderly Australian couple.
Uh,
Go figure, right?
Yeah,
They're probably
that's
the only other Australians in
Yeah.
Winnipeg. And yeah, I remember studying for the officiating test while I was there, down in my little dark room with the tiny slit of a window
Yeah.
up the top. And yeah, so got myself qualified as an official down there. Let the local RIC for Hockey Manitoba know that for like the Winnipeg RIC said, hey, I'm available. He was kind of like, who's this guy from Australia? So I put him in touch with Kent, who was RIC at the time. I was like, hey, Kent, can you give me a reference? He was like, yeah, no worries.
Can you tell them I'm legit?
Yeah, exactly. Like
This
I've
guy
done.
thinks it's like a fake application.
Yeah.
He's like, good one, Australia.
Yeah, go, pull the other one kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Kent sent an email, and the guy was like, "Oh, okay, you're for real." He's like, "We'll pair you up with one of our experienced officials. Get you to do a couple of games with him. He'll give us some feedback, and we'll see where we go." And yeah, they were satisfied with the performance, so I got to officiate AA hockey while I was there.
that's
Sick.
so cool.
Yeah, that was
sick.
super cool.
That's
And, like,
unreal.
good experience. Like the games were quick and fast. And,
Yeah.
like lots of teams and.
So lots of teams in the Hockey Manitoba stream. I don't know if it was just because of the rinks that I was generally available at, but I seemed to get put onto a lot of the competitive women's games. So it was like AA bantams for women's, AA midgets for women's. And those girls skate hard and play hard. I didn't referee this particular game, but I remember being the linesman, and this girl just lined up this beautiful hip body checking, not loud, but the game was just that kind of way. She lined this other woman up with a beautiful hip check, feet straight up in the air. And over.
Nice.
And as we're skating the box, she's pissed off that something happened in the game. I really can't remember, but she's angry. And I said to her, that would have been a good check if this was a checking league.
Yeah.
And she just laughed as she went back to
You're like,
the box. So.
props. Those were...
Handing out little brochures for all the
For-
different AWI saying, once you've done your college or once you get there, you're thinking about Australia.
Come down and join the Sydney Sirens.
If you're sick of the cold, Sydney, come look up
in the summer as well.
In the summer,
the AW competition is during the
Yeah,
summer.
exactly.
So.
They would love it. It'd be unreal.
So great experience and worked in a law firm over there. How
Yeah.
is that kind of working in the Canadian law system? and then being back here working in the law system in Australia?
Actually, very similar. So I worked in the corporate department of the firm that I was of Pull and Camelot Frolinger, and my job was basically ensuring that all the companies made their, like, filling out all the company renewal documents, making sure that they if they were professional corporations, that they were compliant, like, incorporated doctor's practice, incorporated law practices, making sure that they were compliant. That was my job. So I was dealing a lot with, they call it the Companies Act in Manitoba. It's called the Corporations Act here in Australia. There's a lot of similarities between the two. I do a fair bit of work with the Corporations Act now. I'm in the insolvency space, so we use the Corporations Act a lot. Obviously, very specific sections, but a lot of crossover in terms of the principles. The actual laws themselves are probably a little bit different, but the principles that apply are very similar.
Yeah, right. Oh, easy transition.
Yeah.
When did you start getting into the dancing side of things? Was that
Dancing?
Yeah.
That started.
I don't know. Did you know this?
I found it in our research. I found an article about swing.
Yeah, swing.
Yeah.
It's the University of Manitoba swing.
So is that where it started?
No, it started way before that.
Okay. Talk to us how you got into that and your passion.
So that's another thank you, Mum, kind of story. So when I finished high school, I got asked in my gap year, I got asked to be a best man at a wedding. And prior to that, Mum had been really pushing me, like, hey, you need to learn to dance. Like, women appreciate that.
Yeah.
Learn to dance, kind of thing.
yeah.
Like, you don't want to look like a fool when you go to, weddings and parties and all the rest.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
She saw it, she was like, you're a little bit unco, so
yeah, so we need to do
we're gonna have to work on that.
something to get you in.
Yeah. Mum knows best.
Yeah.
Mum knows best.
So she was hammering me for years, like,
Yeah.
do dancing, and I'm throwing up every roadblock. Like, don't want to do it, all the rest of that. I get asked to be a best man at this wedding, and Mum says, well, you've got no choice now. Like, you're going to be the second person out there on the dance floor.
Yeah.
You need to know how to dance.
Everyone's going to be looking at you.
Exactly. And I'm still like, no, not doing it. Don't want to do it. Every roadblock. Can't afford it. Don't know where to go. Don't have a partner. Mum sold it all. She's like, I'll pay for your first set of, term of lessons. I found this place in Burwood that does dance lessons. I found our old next door neighbor who was family friends. They had a daughter around my age. Megan was her name. Megan's willing to dance with you. Like, just solve.
And they're expecting you tomorrow. So
solve all the problems, right?
That is so good.
They're like, oh, great.
Day of the first lesson comes around. Mum's driving, and that was another thing. Like, I can't get to the lesson. She's like, I'll drive you. No worries.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah. Should have paid for a taxi.
She probably would have, right? So we're going to the dance studio. I'm still being a little pain in the neck. I'm like, nah, not doing this. We pull up. I remember we pull up on the road out front of the dance studio. She leans across me, opens the door, and she's like, get out.
Yeah.
So I get out of the car. She closes the door and just drove off.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm here now. I might as well go in and see what it's like. And I actually ended up really liking it.
Yeah, right. And there was like a particular type of dance that you started falling for?
Well, that was ballroom, because she just signed me up for a ballroom class. But speaking to the dance teacher that ran those classes after I'd been doing them probably about a year.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, there's not really any opportunity to do this socially. Do you know a dance style that they do more socially?
Yeah.
And initially he took me out to a salsa night.
Oh wow.
And I didn't really like salsa.
No?
And he was like, no, if you don't like this style, then there's another style you're really gonna like. And that was swing. And
Oh, cool.
So I got into it that way.
That'd have been great if the first class they brought him into was like crumping. Like, you want to be a b-boy? Go on. No, that'd been.
Well, swing is awesome. And I mean, Marco, you have got a wedding this afternoon.
I do have.
Tell me there is
going
to be some swing moves.
You're going to be whispering in that DJ's ear. Now, listen, mate, we don't need these 3 songs.
Well,
it's the playlist.
It's a live band, and the bride is very heavily involved in the swing dance community.
Oh, cool.
So there is definitely going to be swing dancing tonight.
Let's
that is
go.
awesome.
Let's
That is so
go.
good. Well, Marco, I want to say thank you so much for coming in and
Thank you
talking
for
to us
having
about
me.
your
This is
career and your time as a goalie, and then also on the officiating side, some really interesting points. I know I've learned quite a lot. And yeah, it's, you've been such a staple in the net for my hockey playing time. Always seeing those yellow pads, and most of the time
And
stopping all of the pucks.
potentially future colleagues if you're picking up the
I mean, look,
stripes.
I may be
Yeah.
getting tips
You
from
want a
Marco
mentor?
soon. Yeah.
Come, yeah, and anytime.
Well, yeah, I'm going to do my course because I think I need to freshen up on all the rules as well. Especially since I've got a 1-year-old who will soon be hitting mites in a few years. So if I'm going to coach, and I'm going to need to know what to say to the...
Yeah, exactly. You're
reps.
gonna need to know how to abuse the rest. Because-
Technically,
yeah, yeah.
on technicalities.
Go to the officiating course to get the inside drop on the officials. Say, hey, I know these rules better than you.